inspired a series of paintings which were shown in Delhi in 1993, nearly 20 years ago. Kabir, the poet, weaving water, because everything seems on fire all around. So to quench that fire, he has become the water weaver. Sun samad mein bunat hamari, hamra jhagda raha na ko, Pandit Mullah Bisrat do. So I said goodbye to all the conventional forms, and here I am, weaving in the great eternity. And then we have, of course, the women Sufi mystics who've been little painted, not really, not at all. We know about Lallan in Kashmir, her famous works. We know Andamal in the south, who would walk around naked and, challenge the norms of that time. And around her are women weaving garments, doing their traditional work of embroidering. And there she says, body is just a garment. Even the body is a garment, so why should I wear a garment? So it's a homage to all the women Sufi mystics who've been. All the works are 6 feet, 7 feet works. And God Himself as the maker, making all of us. It's part of the same series which I showed in 93, Body is Just a Garment. Actually, I saw the Soul Man after the 84 massacre of the Sikhs in Delhi. The surviving women and children were rehabilitated in a widow's colony, and this old man was weaving all these very sensuous women's garments. And in the middle of all that tragedy and poverty, he was continuing for a living to weave these garments. And in him, I saw the maker. Dancing Nanak. Met with a bit of opposition from some painters in Punjab. I didn't know why they didn't like my Nanak to dance, because there is a lot of dance and music in Nanak's verse. Hasdya khilandya, viche hove mukt, and all the Baramaha, the thing is written about seasons, so full of life and joy and dance and dancing with Mardana, and the river of fire that you have to cross with a joy and dance in your heart. The famous episode when he goes to Makkah and puts his feet towards the shrine and everybody says, have you gone mad? So he says, put my feet where Allah is not. I see Him everywhere. And this was another 6-foot, 5-foot painting. And the Ragis, it's an illustration for Khushwant Singh's book, because I hear a lot of Gurbani or Sufi music as I paint. My brush moves more easily. Nanak Wala Mardana, and there are many journeys. I've been to certain places like in Sikkim and Ladakh, which are 14,000 feet, 18,000 feet from where he crossed barefoot into China. Last month, Mummy's conference was in Nepal. And there also he'd been, and there's a little Nanak mutt, they are keeping the tradition alive. It's a local Nepalese person who's kept the Granths up there and, with great respect. And the story of the sacred thread, because he was born in a Hindu family, so his father wanted to indoctrinate him into the sacred thread. The caste system was a big problem, a huge problem for him, which he never accepted even as a child. So here he is cutting the sacred thread, because these are boundaries. At the back is an abstract map of the world and the same boundaries. But where are the boundaries, And Fakir he always was, because even in his time he was so unaccepted. People didn't know where to place him. So these famous lines, koi kahe bhootna, koi betala, koi kahe aadmi nanak bechara. Koi mujhe bhoot kehta hai, koi betala, koi aadmi bhi keh deta hai, kya kahe nanak bechara. There's a place in Punjab where I go every year. He used to bathe every day. and in the river, which is the Black Bain, and it's near Jalandhar. And one day, so there's this symbolic submergence of the ego because he disappears for 3 days and comes up after 3 days and says Ek Omkar Satnam for the first time, and then the Japji was pronounced at that place. So the submergence for 3 days, his disappearing, everybody feeling very frightened, was of course the submergence of the ego. And from there started the journeys. I've been to Baghdad also in '86. There was the first international Biennale, and Nanak Sahib's Gurdwara is there also because he went to meet a Peer. Wherever he'd find there's a Peer, like in Nepal, he would go and start staying there. So from this point in Sultanpur Lodi, the Udasi started, the journey started. The death of Mardana, during those journeys, his companion Mardana, the Rababi, dies, and he always used to say, Mardana, Rabab utha, Bani aayi hai. Like, as if Bani was descending, when Mardana would pick up his Rabab. So I imagine Nanak consigning the Rabab to the flame. Again, an illustration from a book on Nanak, Kushwant Singh book, Hints of the Sikh Gurus, where he travelled everywhere with Bala and Mardana. Yogis can bend time. You can recognize the Dali's melting clock. So we always look at the watch, and sorry Rifaqat uncle, my apologies that time is a big factor in every conference, but yogis kind of bend time. This is in Jaipur Museum. I'm very happy when paintings land up in museums. There's one in Bharat, which is a sister painting, because there was from my Sri Lankan friend, the Buddhism talks of the journey from suffering. Without suffering, enlightenment cannot come. Yesterday we were in Sanchi, where you'll be going on Monday, and he sees old age, death, and becomes the Buddha, because the suffering casting a shadow on him, and the shadow flowers into enlightenment. Compassion is a 6-foot work, and this posed reclining Buddha is very famous in a lot of sculptures. All the bars on the painting, they are world events like Hiroshima, things that have affected me even as a child. Hiroshima in 26/11, 1947, Babri Masjid 2002. The Sikh massacre in 1984. So all those are world events. What human beings do to each other. So he's shedding a tear for that. Ascension, because ascension always starts from the lower level to that fana level. This is done in Kathmandu on tiles, where within him the Buddha tries to preserve all that's beautiful in the middle of all the chaos that the world has become. And it's on the outer wall of SARC Secretariat on tiles, which is 16 feet by 10 feet. I did it 2 years ago, and when I went for my mother's conference, coordinated by Professor Abi Zubedi, I was very scared what had become of the painting. It's so much in the open, so exposed to the elements, and we know there's snow and rain and a lot of it, but it was as fresh as ever. So I always feel very blessed, like somebody's hand is up there when a painting which is in an external wall remains the same for a few years.